send your notices tonight, but I hope both of you got the second notice. We'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate you being with me. This is week 13, only one more to go. Oh boy. I know y'all are happy. I had my first Santa Claus gig this past weekend, so I'm doing well. They're going to get me, another week, they're going to get me down and shear me like a goat to get all the spirit off of me. But I had a good time with the kids Sunday. I had a great day. So it's getting that time of year. Tonight, we're going to cover sexual harassment. Now, how timely is that we're spending a whole week on that with what's been going on in the media lately? I told you 3 months ago, it's going to be bigger than you think it is. It's going to get worse. It's going to become the 800-pound gorilla sitting on your couch. I saw another teacher today arrested for inappropriate behavior with students. It's here. It's now. People are coming out of the woodwork. You can't ignore it any longer. I need a better example than the one that I gave you in black. That one's too easy. That one's just so in your face. It's easy to see that the employee was wrong and the principal was wrong. I'm gonna have to get some better ones that are a little bit more finely tuned than that one, because we're gonna have to get better at this. We're really gonna have to get better at working around sexual harassment in the workplace, both of students and staff to staff. We're gonna have to get better. There's no doubt. And I appreciate all of you. Chris, yours was good from Asheboro in terms of quoting the policy. I have one thing that I wanted to show you tonight on that. And let me see. New share. Come on, new share. Here we go. I think this is the one that I want. Here it is. This is from the disciplinary data manual for the state that I refer to, that has all the laws and all that. And one of the things that I wanted to show you. Now, I am advocating that you follow your district policy on sexual harassment. But here's a little important note for you, and I'm not the one that bolded this. This is bolded in the state manual. Behaviors with a P. Now, sexual harassment, when you have to report it to the state, it's one of the things that's listed as you must report to the state. It does have a UB, an unacceptable behavior prefix. It does not have a PD or RO. Consultations with investigating law enforcement are recommended if there's any doubt about whether a crime was committed or about the crime. See, the problem with sexual harassment, yeah, we have to report it, and yeah, we have to act on it. But there are certain times when sexual harassment crosses the line and becomes a sexual assault. If there's any touching that goes on. Don't have to be anything more than that. Now, I'm a Baptist. I've told you. These definitions in the back of this thing are a little embarrassing for me. But sexual assault is not what you think it is. And we're going to look at that. And one of the problems that we get into when there's been charges of sexual harassment, we think it's just verbal. As soon as we find out there was any physical to it, we better get law enforcement involved. As long as it's verbal, follow that policy. But the state manual is very clear here. You better consult. When somebody says, well, they touched me or there was physical contact, well, wait a minute now. We've passed sexual harassment. We now may be in the area of sexual assault. And so we might better consult with our SRO on this one to make sure. And so let's look at that quickly, because sexual harassment can move from harassment to assault very quickly under the following conditions. And then law enforcement has to be involved. So let's go to the back of this document and look if I can get it to scroll on down here. See, assaults have to, or all assaults have to be reported. There's the sexual harassment law, as I said. There it is. You just saw it as it passed. Let me see if I can get to the end here. I was going to try to have this already loaded, but I couldn't get it to do it. Okay, here we go. I'm getting close now. All right. Obviously, we're not talking about rape. We're not talking about sexual offense. But here's where the sexual harassment sometimes crosses the line into sexual assault. A person is guilty of sexual battery if he or she, for the purpose of sexual arousal, sexual gratification, or sexual abuse, engages in sexual contact with another person by force and against the will of that person. And the law is very clear. Defines sexual contacts as simply touching sexual organ or person touching another on their own sex. The same thing. They're forced them to do that. So what I'm telling you here is, if the harassment includes some kind of touching in certain areas of the body, even if I'm not talking about rape here. I'm not talking about sexual offense or any of that. I'm talking about if the touching, if the harassment moves from the verbal to the physical, and there's touching, and it's somewhere we consider to be a sexual area of that person, genital, law enforcement then has to be involved. So one of the first questions that I would ask when a person came in and told me they were being sexually harassed, the first question I would ask is, have they touched you in any way? And then describe that touching. Before I started launched an investigation, remember I told you you're not qualified to investigate sex crimes. You are qualified to investigate harassment claims. But I've been very clear all semester, you are not qualified to investigate sex crimes. Very big difference there. And the first thing I'd ask, have you been touched? If you've been touched, whoa, I need to involve the resource officer in this. That's a very important distinction. Very important. Did you see today that in Tennessee, assistant principal and principal were suspended because they did not follow through on an investigation? They tried to do it on their own, and it turned out to be sexual. There was a sexual assault involved. Let me see if I think I had it prompted on my phone. Let me see if I still got it. These things come and go. If I flagged it to be able to find it. It was in Franklin, Tennessee. So let's see if I can. Here's one. This one happened in Pennsylvania. Principal has been relieved. Inappropriate action, or in this one, I think this one is they did not didn't investigate a claim. I don't know what the claim was, but let me see if I can find it right quick. All right, won't come up right now, but anyway, came through yesterday, and basically they were suspended without pay during the investigation because they did not pursue what ended up being a sexual misconduct case that happened yesterday. Again, they treated it as harassment. It was exactly what I'm talking about tonight. I read through it. They treated it as harassment and basically disciplined the kid for that. But there was a sexual component, and they didn't turn it over to police, and the parent filed a case, and they lost their job. So again, somebody comes in and says, I'm being sexually harassed. First question you ask is, have you been touched by this person? If you have, you would then bring that to the attention of law enforcement. Get your SR. Don't call 911 and have the news media there, but consult with your law enforcement to just proceed. I would call and start the process, that whatever your process is, but I'd make sure the folks in the central office knew. But you would want to consult with your school resource officer at all possible. Okay, so that's that one. I want to back up now before I move to the other part of that presentation. I've had several questions, just kind of asides about points. You need 3,000 points to make your A in this course. Most of you are there. If you don't make it because of somebody else didn't do peer reviews, that won't preclude you from getting your points. You make about 4,000 points in this course, and so it only takes about 3,000 to get your A. So if there's any questions, email me. You can ask them now. But I keep getting that question. It's 3,000 points. All right. Share. I have a presentation here that I did for the state of North Carolina. Well, I had hired a criminologist. We did this in 2011 at the big state conference at the Curry Center in Greensboro. If any of you were there, I was the keynote. You probably saw this before, so I won't bore you with it too long again. But this is a good little one that's kind of that again, it starts with the law. It starts with federal guidelines from U.S. Department of Education, which is No Child Left Behind. Goes to North Carolina, quotes the manual I was just quoting, tells what the acts of crime and violence are, and works through all of these things: violence prevention, education, protective factors, anti-violent gang awareness. A lot of sexual harassment can be traced back to gang and other violent activity. That's part of it. Sexual harassment identification and prevention is one of the sections. This is one that you should pay the most attention to. It talks about Title IX, federal statutes. Sexual harassment of students is illegal. And it goes into the state statutes. The courts ruled in 86 schools have the power to discipline students if they do that, if they sexually harassed others. Again, school districts should be held responsible for harassment if was aided in carrying out of the students by his position of authority. That's actually where I came up. That one is the one that I have was your discussion board. See, the school, not only the principal and the school, and we go back to that, you can be held tort liability. The principal can be held financially liable for allowing that harassment and that sexual misconduct to go on. The idiot that put the note above the mailboxes. This is, U.S. Department of Education, Title IX. This is a law course. This stuff is not just things that we make up or think ought to be bad. There are laws that say you can do this and you can't do that, or you are held accountable if you don't do the things you're supposed to do. So this cites all the relevant cases in sexual harassment. I have cited all of the state law on these things for you here. So this is one of those things you should put in your toolbox. It has all the appropriate stuff in it. It has all the legal foundation. It has all the explanations. It has all of the statutes from the state of North Carolina. This thing has been researched from top to bottom. It has all of the terminology, all of the definitions for you. It has all of the definitions. It has sexting, which is a form of sexual harassment. It has cases. It has examples. It has criminal versus non-criminal. That's what I was referring to before. You got to check to make sure that it's not criminal. Non-criminal is if it's just a verbal thing and you have the right to investigate and handle it the appropriate way. If it crosses the line into touching, it becomes criminal and you must involve law enforcement. So I have that here for you as well. I have examples for you. I have several scenarios here for you. And here are some, this one was, don't call Ryan, but he's a criminologist that I had working on this. But it took us months to put this together, mostly Ryan. But as I said, this was the keynote presentation in 2011. I was asked by DPI to put this together. It was a big enough deal even 6 years ago. We knew what was coming because we were seeing the data trend that way. And they asked me to do this. It was fairly well received, but people didn't think it was a big deal 6 years ago. That's how times change. Now, I'd have the media there. I'd be on national TV doing this presentation. Everybody that is anybody in the state would be sitting in the front row to be seen at this presentation. And 6 years ago, it was the keynote presentation. Everybody was kind of like, oh, that's good to know. But wow, how the world has changed in 6 years. So you get time, spend some time with this one. This is one of those you should download and save. This could come in handy. This is, even though I made it, this is a good one. This is one you need to know. I won't spend all of our evening on it, but it's because I've got it here for you. All right. Again, this disciplinary data manual. You ought to download that thing. You ought to start memorizing that thing from top to bottom. So when you get your job, you'll be that far along on this thing. You need to know all this thing. This manual, actually, I haven't in the last 6 years since I retired from the public school system, but I actually helped build the original of these manuals several years ago. We had the largest database in the state. We ran our own database in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and I was involved with it. So this not because I was involved in the development of this manual, but this is the Bible in terms of due process and what you'll have to deal with when you're an AP. This is the Bible. All right. All right. Any questions on sexual harassment? Again, watch that, take time and look at that PowerPoint and understand the difference between criminal and non-criminal behavior. As soon as you have been told that it possibly is criminal, that there was touching involved, you should involve law enforcement authorities immediately. Again, you are not qualified to do sex crimes investigation. That's beyond your pay grade. All right. On the weekly evidence artifacts, you should be at task 1 on the CAP by now. You should have already completed skip 1 and 2, and you should be at the task at CAP task 1 by now. That's where you need to be. I had a question today from Chris about can you work further on your own? Please do. It would be a really smart idea to work during the holidays. If you could, get a little bit ahead, so that you won't be so pushed next semester. Because as I have already warned you, you're not going to have any time in 605 to do anything but compile. Hopefully, all you'll have left to do maybe is just compile your pull all the different parts out of the first 5 to compile your SOP, because you only have 4 weeks before the deadline in this summer. Let me say that again. By the time that you get started, actually probably 5 weeks. Everything's due by July 1. The session is only 10 weeks long. Everything's due by July 1. Everything's got to be in and graded by July 1. So the first deadline will be sometime that last week of June. So it's not like you've got 16-week semester to put everything together. You've got basically 4 weeks. So you need to be completely done with the CAP and the skip, and have a good idea of where you're going to go with the SOP before summer rolls around. And the way to do that is, don't slow down. If you get some time over the holidays, be working on these things during the holidays. To that end, let me cover those with you at this time. Let me move this up out of the way here. Going back to the scale handbook. It's a little bit bigger so we can all see it. All right, so we're up to skip task 3, the marketing plan. So what you're going to do now, the candidate will develop a marketing plan based on the needs assessment, organizational analysis results, and the resource identification. The plan should include a statement for the purpose of the plan, the strengths, opportunities for input, opportunities for involvement, timeline, and a feedback component. As you know, all of those should be major headings in your paper, and you should write a narrative. That's called your evidence of what you're going to do or what you did. Now, as you know, if you are smart, at that point, you will take and summarize all of that in a graphic organizer. Trust me, you'll thank me for this later. Go ahead and summarize that action plan in a graphic organizer that says specific activity, persons responsible, resources needed, indicator of success, summative, formative evaluation. You know how to do a graphic organizer. That's the one sheeter that says, all right, this is what we're going to do. So summarize all of it in that. And remember, this is going to your action, your marketing plan here is how you're going to put in place your plan to address your short and long-term goals. Again, let me say that again. That's the key here. You don't hear anything else, hear this. The key, your marketing plan is the plan as to how you are going to address those short and long terms or meet those short and long-term goals that you set aside for yourself earlier in task 1. Let's go back and look at that. See, this is where I get the disconnect on these. People make a marketing plan that's got stuff in there about teacher working conditions survey, or about their action plan, about their academic plan, or their staff development plan from the CAP. No, this is for short and term. How are you going to meet those short and long-term goals that you set for yourself in task 1. So although those things may be a part of it, the plan is to accomplish the goals, or a set of recommendations that include short and long-term objectives to establish the skip. That's what you're going to do. That's what your marketing plan is going to address. That last bullet right there. And that's what you did in prompt in task 2. You figured out what resources it was going to take to put those plans in place, short and long term. Right here, the candidate should lead a team to identify the fiscal and human resources necessary to complete the skip. That's what we're talking about. How are you going to meet those short and long term objectives for your skip? And then this is the plan that uses those fiscal and human resources. So in task 1, you came up with your goals. This is what we're going to do. In task 2, you came up with the resources you're going to need. Task 3, you're going to write the plan. What we're going to do, when we're going to do it, who's going to do it for your short and long-term goals or objectives. That's what this one is. And then, of course, in 4, you will write your competencies as usual. So make sure you understand that task 1 leads to task 2 to task 3. It has to flow. They have to be linked. We said in task 1 what our objectives were, short and long term. In task 2, we identified what our resources are. In task 3, we put those 2 things together and came up with a plan to address those short and long term. If you look at it that way, it's not too hard. But I get a lot of people that get confused when they get to the marketing plan about what kind of plan am I, and they dive off and start talking about teacher working condition survey. No, it's short and long-term objectives that we're trying to meet through this plan. We're going to do teacher working condition survey. Guess when that's coming? In the CAP. They get ahead of themselves and think, oh, because it mentioned TWC in this one, oh, I'm writing a plan to address those. No, this plan is to address short and long-term objectives. Everybody's clear on that? All right. That's the left turn. That's how you can run off the road on this one. All right. Now, your CAP. Remember what I told you for task 1 in your CAP? You can add as many as you want, but you got to have the 5 required by the state: time, facilities, resources, teacher empowerment, and school empowerment. Teacher leadership and school leadership. Teacher leadership, school leadership, time, facilities, resources. Those are the 5. Right there they are. I can close my eyes and see them. I know them by heart. So that's the ones. Now, you can add more to that. But when I get to task 2, I better see those 5 again. What I see most of the time that really what I really see a problem with is folks will do the 5 in A, and then I never see them again, and they jump over to managing student conduct. And I never see those 5 again. I want to see those same 5 when we get to task 2. All right. So basically what you do, you have to do a little survey there, and then that's your quantitative, and then you have to do a little qualitative. You have to ask people what they think, why we're low in those 5 areas. And I've given you the example before, and I'll give it to you again. Under time, teachers always report they don't have enough planning time. Well, when you go out and ask them, 9 times out of 10, what they'll tell you is there's plenty of time in the schedule. It's just I'm always covering class. So the fix is not to put more planning time in the schedule. The fix then would be is to get substitutes. So again, in task 2, you'll provide all these things here that it says you need to provide, but you will go back and you will go back and you will look at your numbers. You can resurvey those low ones and say, is this really what I like is you pick the lowest one from each of those 5 areas on TWC. You send those same 5, just those 5 items out and say, are these really things, basically what you're saying is, are these really the 5 worst things in these 5 areas? And when they confirm that they are, then you go around and you ask people, what could we do to fix these? Why are they bad and what could we do to fix them? That's your qualitative. Qualitative is interviews and observation. Quantitative is survey. If you understand the difference between the two, what I get all the time is people referring to, oh, I did my qualitative work, I surveyed. Survey is not qualitative. Survey is quantitative. Qualitative is interview and observation. Survey is quantitative. Qualitative is interview and observation. Please remember that. That's your key for task 2. You didn't hear anything else. Make sure all 5 are there, that you continue with the 5 and the lowest items from those 5, and that quantitative is you resurvey those same 5 low items and double check to make sure they are low. And then qualitative is you interview and observe to find out why they're low. All right. When you get to task 3, you're going to look at all these items right here and make a set of recommendations that include specific activity and programs designed to present an action plan that will improve the culture of the school. Again, you look at all of these. These are all headings of sections where you look at all of these things here. And then in 4, you'll put together your action plan. An electronic framework to graphically display the progress of the school related to the cultural advocacy and safety. This is where your action plan is right here. And again, you can use a PERT chart or you can use a graphic organizer. Graphic organizer is just like the marketing plan from the SKIP or the action plans from the AppSell and AppTel. Who's going to do what, where, when, and why. You have all these things right here. You address them narratively, and then you got to do a graphic, either a PERT chart or a graphic organizer when you get there. But again, you're doing an action plan. It's exactly what you're doing in task 4. Okay. And this analysis here will be your action plan. Again, you'll write it and you'll write the plan narratively in task 3, and you will display it graphically in task 4. All right, so that's it. Now, when you get to the style, and you should be here by 6:05. When you get here, what you're going to figure out pretty quickly is this stuff's all going to look, all these tasks are going to look really familiar to you because you've already done them in the first 5. If I can get this thing to roll back up. Here we go. I want this the summary of them. Now. Here's the summary of the task. Well, this thing's not working. Like it ought to. Go the other way. Come on. There we go. Come on, come on. Come on. Now it's going to go too far. We'll look at it quickly as it goes by. Task 1, school data project, focus group, graphic organizer, reflections. You've seen all that stuff before. Can't get this thing to stop. It has a mind of its own. Hey. Here we go. I'm getting there. You see the names of these tasks? School data project. That comes straight out of your app cell and AppTel. Teacher working condition projects come straight out of the CAP. A little bit out of the SKIP. Focus group, that's the SKIP. Resource allocation, you had to do that when you were looking, and all of them when you were looking at the resources to put the plans in place. Graphic organizer, that one is you put together all the graphic organizers from all the plans. That would be the action plans from the AppCell and AppTel, the marketing plan from the SKIP, and the action plan from the CAP. You put all those together, you got your graphic organizer. If you use the same format, it goes together really easy. And then you've written all your competencies all the way, and you're good to go. Let me look and see if I've got something here. Come on, you can do it. Can you see my screen? It says School Improvement Action Plan, Evidence 6. Is that on your screen?
Nope.
No? Okay, let me do a new share then. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Well, look at here. Somebody's already written a little template here that tells you where you can find all your stuff. I might post that in this. I might post that on our Blackboard page. That might be my Christmas present to you. I think I might do that later this evening. It will be under this week's lesson plan. I will go ahead and post that for you. And what I've done for you is I have told you where to look for these things. There should be nothing new in this one, maybe a little linking narrative. But when you get there, you should be able to put all these pieces together. Again, that's the graphic organizer that I like. There's a chart somebody did. If you can put all that together and make one big chart out of it, you know, good for you. I am a concrete sequential. This is the kind of stuff that I do. And then of course you put your competencies in here and only one of those. So I'll post this. So this will be a little gift for you later on down the road. When you get to 6:05, just in case I don't have you again at that time, this will be my gift to you, so that you can put all that together. But yeah, I think you should continue to working. If you can, try to work some more on your skip during the holidays. You know, get your skip and cap knocked out this spring so that when you get to 6:05 this summer, but all you got to do is put all your pieces together because you've only got 4 weeks. Put all your pieces together and finish up and and make sure you keep up with your competency, your dispositions. Now, part of the reason why I suggest you being ahead when you get to 605 is because of your competency folio. You know, you got to keep up with that, and your internship log. And one of the things you don't want to be under the gun is trying to get your evidence artifacts completed when you got your folio to get all your proofs in there and all those other things. You know, a smart person might even have this thing put together by the time you get out of 604, where you're just doing all your odds and ends and getting all the other things done in 605 because you've only got 4 weeks. So just a heads up on what's coming up over the next few months here for you. All right. I will add this one to, again, under week 13. I will add this one. Okay. Let me go back here. Anybody have any more questions on sexual harassment that we covered, evidence, artifacts, any of those kinds of things? Anybody have any more questions for me tonight? Everybody knows you got to have 3,000 points to get your A. Everybody should be able to make that fairly easily, since you can actually make about 4,000. Shouldn't be a problem. Questions, issues, problems, call or email. Anything for the good of the group before we close tonight? Appreciate you all being with me. I will see you next week for our final go round. Everybody have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.